I'll tell you what, though, I got to get myself some like lobby music. I want some like nice vibes playing in here before we get this going. Um, gonna hang out. We're gonna hang out for just a second here and let some people file in. I got a lot of folks showing number one or two after. Those of you in the chat, tell me, is this your first time here? Your fifth time? Your 35th time? This is our 35th issue, which is insane. I can't believe we're already here. I've just been like running a weekly report for all of y'all for like 35 weeks now, nonstop. It's pretty crazy. So let me know if this is your first time here, where you're coming in from, where you're calling from, and also what you'd like us to talk about. I mean, honestly, not just today, but like at any point in the future. Like what's interesting? What do you want to see? What kind of data are you looking for? Strategy, what kind of problems you got? Just air it out, folks. Call in. It's a radio show, this thing. All right, no names I recognize yet. Let's see. All right, everybody, we'll give you just another 10 more seconds to file in, and then we're going to kick this thing off. Perfect. All right, everybody, welcome to the Media Bar webinar. My name is Brian. I'll be your host again. I've been out for a little while. I'm back here for your weekly download of data. So right now, if this is your first time being here, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some benchmark data from across the D2C industry and around our customer base and around the world really quick. Give you some ideas of what exactly happened in terms of auctions and trends that we're seeing and ideas that we're understanding from this week. And then we're going to welcome our guest, Cori Taylor, to come on and talk about some cool stuff that we've heard about before and I've heard people mention before, but I don't think we've really talked about in great detail. And that is looking at performance media through a financial lens. So let's get right into it. So number one, straight up, finally, we had a real bounce. So I know we've been trending downward for several weeks in a row here, especially in terms of auction metrics. You know, the CPMs keep getting more expensive. Click-through rates are going down, and I feel like in the post-holiday week, we finally had a little bit of a rebound, which I appreciate. I don't know necessarily how much of this is going to continue week over week. That's what I'm looking for, is strong week over week trends. And not just normal moves, because there are a couple things in here that look like normal moves. You know, CPMs basically being under a 1% change on Facebook, it feels like a normal move, right? Whereas the big Google jump of 11%, I don't know if that's a normal move, right? I don't know if that's something related to now finally the first of the month clicks over, Labor Day's over, everybody's turning on their holiday campaigns. It all starts now, right? So what I'm going to be looking for and what you should all be focused on as we start moving closer and closer to the holidays is directionality in what's going on here. I've said that before. That's what we're looking for. And directionally, in terms of conversion metrics, things are looking good. Facebook has finally turned itself around. TikTok conversion rates are still on the slide. I'm hearing crazy numbers. If y'all are having problems with TikTok conversion rates, please let me know. I want to hear about that. I want to hear your stories. You're not alone. I think this is the 5th or 6th or 7th week in a row that TikTok conversion rates have been dropping, and that is a directional trend. Otherwise, glad to see Meta improve itself. Google's back on the way up. I mean, this is the time, this is early still, that this is the time that people start their kind of daily creep upwards, especially for the enterprise brands of their push for the holidays. So I'm not surprised to see those conversion metrics respond in that way. I will be surprised to see them jump that much the whole way down. I think it's going to start early, kind of plateau a little bit, and then peak as you get right around the time where people really start running their deals, you know, the 40, 50, 60% off like 2 weeks out. So that's what I'm looking for. Otherwise, please tweet me, DM me, email me, messenger pigeon, carrier pigeon, whatever it is, your questions about what metrics you want to see as we enter now this very serious, not joking around time of September for our Q4 Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday, Christmas, Boxing Day, whatever the hell push. Tell me what you want to see, because it's going to get real hand to hand real fast. This is going to be a really tough year. That's my prediction officially. Quote me, sign it. It's going to be a tough year for everybody. I think if we are tactical, if we are specific, and we are limited in our choices of what we're going to do in BFCM, we can come out of this with some sort of net positive. So please let me know what you want to see, what I can help you pull. Send it to me. All right, let's keep rolling. Something really cool, talking about the bounce. I never get to see all green arrows on this industry chart. Never, never, never. And I checked this more than once, and this data is accurate. Everyone is on the bounce. I don't know if y'all had your best ads saved for September 1 or what, but like everyone is on the up at various different levels of intensity, right? You know, baby's not diving too much, but it's not really baby time of year. I feel like most holidays and most birthdays kind of happen in the start of the year. But things like electronics looking itself up. Home goods is going up. We're talking about change of the seasons. Every time we change seasons, I see these numbers fly upwards or downwards, depending on who you are. Right now, and apparel fashion, of course, refreshing itself because it's September. You know, no more white after Labor Day, although in the age of global warming, I don't think anybody's caring about that anymore. But the good news is everybody's up, depends on how much. So hopefully you're up with this. Google category shifts. Once again, I'm seeing unbranded go up because what they're trying to do right now, right? And what we're all trying to do is capture that demand on unbranded terms in the lead up to Black Friday. Like, yeah, you're going to be running your branded stuff because you're going to be trying to capture demand from the ads that you're running. But at the same time, we're going to hit a natural momentum of buying now where people know if they're looking for things specific or they've been sitting around waiting for some money to spend and they're looking for these discounts. So not surprised to see unbranded continue to rise. We'll see how high it goes. We'll see if it hits 30. Anyway, once again, buckle down, batten down the hatches. It's going to be a crazy couple of weeks, but if you stay tuned into this call and you stay focused on your strategy, we are going to get there. All right, before I get into our guest speaker today, I want to take a look at these questions really quick. Invalid clicks and click farms with e-commerce. Man, I could write a thesis on this. Let me get back to you on that with Sam. I'm going to make a note. Autumn, if you can make a note, I think we can definitely tweet a little something about that. And then a longer term trend line for this data repeat. You're reading my mind, buddy. I am working on that big time. That's why I'm in here right now, just telling you verbally, like I'm seeing these trends. I will be giving you, give me a couple more weeks to do the back end dev work and actually get this thing visualized. I will be getting you a longer term trend line that everyone in this call can reference, not just week over week, but an existing static page where you can reference anytime you want. All right, let's get into it. I would love to welcome Cori up to the stage here. Cori is the director of paid media at Basis, really fantastic company doing amazing work. And today we're going to talk about your perspective on paid media, and especially the way you think about paid media in terms of reporting and specifically financials. And I know as someone who kind of comes from a more creative background in this business, I'm always thinking, and like creative and data, I'm always thinking like, I'm always looking at engagement. I'm always looking at the creative. I'm always looking at kind of hook rates and stuff like that. And I'm never thinking critically enough about the financial half of the business. And I just know that it's this big gaping gap in my knowledge, and probably a lot of people who come into this business via the creative end or via the media buyer end, to understand, you know, that a strong equation, strong financials, a strong perspective and understanding of your costs and your balance sheet and your P&L can help you succeed. So Cori, I would love to welcome you to the show. Thanks for being on today.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great intro. Yeah, I mean, for like a high level thing, I would say that's been the biggest game changer for our brand. So we run through Basis Auto Brush, which is a whole mouth toothbrush. And that has been like diving more so into the financial element, understanding what makes a profitable order, what makes a good customer, has really been the thing that pivoted our company and our P&L to a much better direction. And that deeper understanding going into the media buying element of it, really, it's I can't tell you how much it's made an impact in our lives. So of financials first, everything else second.
I'm gonna stop sharing so we can see each other
Yeah.
better here. So tell me a little bit when you talk about like, let's look at performance media through a financial
Mhm.
lens, a financials first approach, as you said. What exactly does that mean? How are you conceptualizing your approach to performance media?
Mhm.
What are some key concepts that you're kind of constantly referring to, or some maybe mantras that you're saying when you're tackling this work?
Yeah. So when you go to, like, think of it from like just you have to spend money at the end of the day. That's our job, is to get money out the door to bring new customers in. First question that comes to mind is how much money. So understanding how much money you have to then push towards acquiring new customers is like the bare minimum step one. And then when you layer in like, all right, how much should I acquire to get each customer? That level of what it should that CAC be? Aligning all these spend goals with how much physical money it takes to get there. It's just kind of all comes together. So when it comes to like the mantras, it's really understanding margin, really taking a look at what that customer lifespan and attention looks like for your specific brands. Granted, a lot of that's retention based, which we don't really need as like a media buyers, but understanding, all right, if I set my CAC goal to be at cost, how long does it take to be profitable? And aligning that with our accountant and our CEO really does, when we're all expecting to break even first order, view that defines the goal, defines success, and we know how to build. And if it's just kind of moving in any direction as long as you make a sale, it's hard to know what direction you need to go into later.
It's it's definitely common, I've seen
Mhm.
in working with clients, that when you begin engaging in performance media, whether you've hired an agency or you've built an internal team, oftentimes the guidance from leadership is, well, you should be able to make as much money as possible. And you know, you as a marketer, you come in and you go, okay, what's the budget? And they go, well, that all depends on how much money you can make, right? Or there is no cap on budget. Or you go, okay, well, what kind of performance are you expecting, or what sort of CAC are you expecting? And the answer is always the best possible, which is not
Mhm.
always a functional place to come from. So what it sounds like you're suggesting is, okay, let's set some targets and then we
Yes,
work backwards rather than
um,
assuming and trying to boil the ocean and shoot for the moon on right out of the gate. We'll work backwards and set a real baseline of like, hey, here's the bottom line we want to hit, and then from there you can build upwards.
absolutely. And having some of those spend targets in mind. So if you know, um, for just if you have a subscription model and you know that in order to meet churn, so not even having a net growth in your subscriptions long term, you need to acquire say 100 customers that month. You're like, okay, this is my budget then to for the bare minimum, and setting that baseline. It's impactful for understanding how the long term effects of, you know, descaling or scaling up depending on market trends really affects the long term success of the business as well.
What are some key metrics that you focus on in terms of like, okay, let's reverse engineer this. Let's
Mhm.
build it from this financial perspective first rather than trying to conquer the world. What do you focus on when you're planning, when you're reporting? Like what feels most important to you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of contribution margins, number one. So understanding what your cost of delivery is to the customer, understanding, okay, if I sell, this brush, okay, it costs, $40 to get to the customer. It's at 99. That leaves like $59. I could have done better math, to play around with for your CAC to get to a break even point. So that's really the number one. Contribution margin builds the CAC, it builds everything. And then I also like to look at the long-term profitability. So I have like, um, let me pull up a sheet that I just cleared up. How do I share my screen? Oh, there it is. Uh,
Oh, we're gonna get some behind the scenes here.
oh yeah. There's a little bit of like made up fluffy data in here just as like an FYI. So this isn't our true stuff going on, but so I like to look at probably monthly, bare minimum, quarterly, absolutely. But breaking down the products that we do advertise, what that first order value is, kind of what that LTVs have been trending towards. If you see some with the gaps here, that just offer hasn't been running long enough to get that data. Pull all of that in so you can kind of see what the expected growth is, pulling in what the cost of delivery is for the 3 month or for initial delivery, and then 6 months down the line to then build a long-term profitability calculation. So this is just the 6 month value divided by the cost of delivery at 6 months and what I cost to initially acquire them in the beginning. I like to use this to prioritize offers. So it's really nice to know that, hey, this is definitely bad flub data, but if I know that I can get this exact product to be $34 below CAC, that's awesome. That CAC target is great. We're making so much money upfront, but this product two down has a much longer, better long-term value. So I can sacrifice $5 up front and know I'm going to get even more from that offer, and I can spend more time, energy towards that offer that also gives me upfront profitability, but also gives me long-term profitability.
To get into Luca's question, because I think you're sort of talking about it here.
Mm-hmm. So
This
how
is
do you
this is
advise
yeah.
yeah, sorry, I just started to read out loud.
But basically what he's asking is like, let's say that you can't. I mean, just because of maybe competitive issues in the market or whatever, I would say if you can't hit first order profitability with just a product, like you've got a different problem. But like if you can't hit it because of some sort of hyper competition or hyper nicheness in the market, but you do have an optimistic LTV, do you have products that, let's say, aren't break even on first purchase, and how do you negotiate those issues? Do you try and turn them into something that can break even at some point? Do you deal with it and just trust on the LTV? Like, what's your mindset and thinking there?
Give me 2 seconds to plug in my laptop. It just started to flash at me. I didn't realize it was unplugged, but I have a good answer for that. I just don't want to stop talking. Where is my laptop charger? There it is. Okay.
This almost happened to me the other day. It just wasn't, yeah, another good time for lobby music. This almost happened to me the other day. I was just chilling, and then I was like, oh, I'm about to drop off this call. Whoops.
Yeah, I had 10%. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, so I would say when it comes to that, like you're not break even at first, and you have optimistic LTV, understanding what that LTV could be. So if you're expecting about a 6 month payback, understand your cash flow and if that's an okay thing for you to do. And just plan for it for inventory buying, work with your team to understand how that affects long-term buying, because it is a long time to get your money back. But there's also for us, like I think a good example is this one. So this one about $10 in the positive on first purchase. So great, but even if it wasn't, let's just say this is at 70, so it's just at that even. Our long-term profitability is on this offer is still the best one. So understanding, okay, maybe I'm break even on first purchase. How can I get that higher? And working with the team to make sure all the levers are in place. So for a lot of these products, we're on a subscription model now. We brought the subscription from 3 months to 2 months. So that obviously makes the cash flow, rather than 2 rebills in a 6-month period, we get 3. So working towards or understanding what levers you could pull down the line for retention really does help. I know that's a little bit different and difficult for, us as media buyers. That's not really our wheelhouse. But as long as we can communicate that to the right team of like, hey, we need to figure out how to pull this out somewhere. If you have good connections or know how to manipulate your landing page, you can do post-purchase upsells. And things like that. So order value. So even if you get the same CAC, higher first order value, fantastic. Like I want to say this first order value of about 125, our product's $99. So a good 30% increase right there.
So like right out the gate, if you're a product or if you're a brand with like tons of different
Mhm.
SKUs, with tons of different, long-term profitabilities, it probably makes sense to diversify the types of products that you have. Like, you can afford break even or less than break even on some product because the long term is good, but to your point, you
Mhm.
can't actually run more ads unless your cash is kind of front loaded, right?
Yep.
So like maybe you have a product, maybe you have one thing that just absolutely slays on first purchase, and maybe it serves as a good kind of gateway drug for like the longer profitability stuff. But maybe that one thing mixed with a handful of other different lengths to profitability can
Yep.
give you a business structure that's like pretty resilient and buys you a little bit of freedom, right? But it's all strategic. Everything is, you're not just like, let's ball everything out 1,000%. You're picking and choosing your battles and building a really resilient business model here.
Yeah. And I completely second, like two thumbs up to that. One of the things that we focused on this year is, it sounds so dumb to say it, but our product is kid focused, but can we also have an adult line? Every kid has an adult. The kids don't have their credit cards. They're not sitting down at the computer. So sell the product to the adults as well. And it's just like one of those like dumb kind of like light bulb ideas of, oh shoot, this is a great way for us to increase our LTV if the kids like it. Maybe the parents will too. So like just recognizing that like that element of your product line as well of, hey, this is a low hanging fruit that it might not be my spot as like the marketer, but all good ideas contribute to the business, and showing that value no matter what isn't just a net positive.
And you're hinting a little bit at like what sucks as a growth marketer is like our work isn't, we don't just run ads,
Mhm.
like at the end of the day, they're always like, you're the one that's responsible for growing the revenue. But if you don't have the, let's call it authority to go into other departments and tell them, I need you to make a product that fits this gap that I'm seeing that we can fill in the market, right? If you don't have that authority, sometimes it can get really challenging where you do have to go out of your lane a little bit and talk to people and be like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Um, what kind of advice do you have for people who maybe, a lot of us digital marketers, we like to look at our spreadsheets all the time, and going and talking to product or talking to the CFO or talking to brand designers and all of that stuff can be pretty intimidating. But if you have an idea and you have a good point based on your data, can you give some advice on maybe how people could reach across departments and like make themselves heard in that regard?
Yeah. I mean, if you are a spreadsheet person, like I saw see Kyle, you said you want the sheet. I'll send you a link. This is all I'll share it with the team. But if you are a spreadsheet person, I feel like it's hard to deny data. So if you are really good at making your case through data, I mean, that's one of the ways I got this whole structure of, hey, financials first to work, is because I went, hey, if we keep spending at this pace, we're going to lose money. Here's why. If we reduce the budgets by 10%, we're fine. So like until you have that trust and open door, that's always an easy in of, this is a good idea and I have reasoning. But if you just shoot your shot, just to reach out, there's the worst case scenario, someone says no. So I'm just a big proponent of, if you've got an idea, share it, say something. Like don't worry about the, I guess, the departmental politics. And if you are, just talk to your boss. But being a person that's not afraid to take a risk and say, hey, if we add, we're a toothbrush company, so I can't help but use this like kind of example. But if you add toothpaste, that's an easy upsell. It's a no-brainer. Put it before purchase. If they don't take it, maybe an post-purchase upsell. And then even if half the people take it, if it's a $10 tube, you get $5 extra on every order. That's almost pure profit. So just shoot your shot, say something. If you really are need that backing up of data, what's the worst that can happen? You got it. You're
This
smart
is
people.
this is why I love growth marketers, because we just sit at this weird nexus of like every department, I feel
Hmm.
like. And like if you boil it down, the base goals of our work is basically to move the company forward. So we're like this weird consultant, CMO, product, strategy, branding, copywriting blend that like makes this work really, really hard.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you can be the most impactful person in the company like really quickly. And if you do it right, you're backed up with data, right?
Yep.
Speaking of data, what are some of your favorite resources, tools, when doing this kind of work? You know, what do you like to, is there stuff you like to read about this, or maybe any books or podcasts or stuff that have informed your perspective?
When it comes to tools as a whole, we're trying to keep it. We had a challenge this year of if you don't think you're getting ROI from it, cut it, and if it you see a negative impact on your work, add it again. So we cut out most things, which has been a kind of cool challenge to see how else can I get this data from somewhere else, and does that data is that more true? So I use Shopify Analytics almost entirely for that sheet and the Facebook dashboard. Um, I'm a big truster of like lifetimely. That's one I actually can never live without for a lifetime value. And understanding product flow. It's just I find it so incredibly impactful. Um, we're a heavy user. What were some of the other parts of the questions outside of tools?
Like stuff you like to read or listen
Reading
to, or where
resources.
you like resources. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like I feel like everyone on here as well, just a e-commerce Twitter person. We go through that. We have a learning channel in our company Slack that's like cool tweets. You just kind of post them. So I spent a lot of time there. I swear by like the Taylor Holidays and the CDC's blogs. Those are really good ones. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have read like two other books. I cannot think the names of them. Oh, completely unrelated to marketing, but it's really closely related to product. But I find it to be so kind of like philosophical that it kind of helped. It's The Design of Everyday Things. It's an old product book. It's all about how people interact with their environment. Like, how do you know how to open a door? So, like, that's the first chapter. So, like, it's just seeing how inputs relate to outputs. Really helpful for marketing as well.
Well, Cori, that brings us right to time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. What's the best way to get a hold of you if people want to talk?
Um, oof. I guess through Twitter. I don't do a lot of tweets that are business related. I'm a much more hockey person on there, but
Great.
I'm here to talk about it. If you DM me, it's at Cori Lisa. So CoriLisa. One A was taken. So I had to go with two A's. But that's it on Twitter. I'm there.
Well, Cori, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah,
Everybody, we'll have this on YouTube right after this. If you have any questions, tweet at us. Otherwise, thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week.
perfect. Thank you.